Hello, I'm Matthew Malcolm with Pacific Nut Producer Magazine, reporting to you from the Fresno State Almond Orchard. Here today, the Almond Board of California held a harvesting workshop for growers, and one of the things that was emphasized here was the importance of the Almond Sustainability Program. And here's Gabrielle Ludwig from the Almond Board to share why every almond grower should be involved in this.
We have the Almond Sustainability Program, and a lot of growers go, why should I participate in something that asks me to sit down and write down what I'm doing in my orchards? And it really comes down to several things. One is we view it as, if we don't have data, if we don't have information about what growers are actually doing in their orchards, it's really hard to go out to the public or to regulators and say this is what growers are actually doing. So another way to think about it is it helps us, the Almond Board, be able to tell the almond growers' stories because we have information directly from growers about what they're doing or what they're not doing in their orchards. And where we see that be really valuable is in the last 2 years as almonds became the poster child for using, that ag uses a lot of water. We were able to go to the sustainability data and really come back and say, look, here's things that the almond growers are already doing. So for example, 70% at least of the acreage is using a micro irrigation system, or 83% of the growers are using a combination of weather, soil, and or plant water status to determine how and when to irrigate. We wouldn't have been able to do that 6 years ago. And being able to get up there and say we have data behind it, this is representative of the industry, really was very powerful in being able to counter stories that other people were telling about how almond growers are growing. So that's one key area, is being able to tell the story. I think the other thing to realize is, this whole concept of measure to manage. None of us are really good about writing down, how much of us keep good track of how much money we've spent as an individual. But the more you can do that, the more you're able to say, okay, what are really the trends, and say, okay, what happened then, oh, this is going on, or this is what happened 3 years ago, here's the consequences. So this measure to manage, and then to be able to actually act upon the information. So I actually view the sustainability program also as a time for a brewer to step back and reflect upon his or her operation and say, hey, I'm so busy running around doing things. Have I thought about how all this stuff integrates? And as you're filling it out, you actually get reminders of things that you may not have thought about in a while. Oh, I kind of forgot that maybe I need to think about doing this for my pest management. So that's, to me, another reason is just it's a time to reflect. The other thing that's been going on is we're definitely seeing a shift in the marketplace. And as I say, most almond growers are relatively protected from the marketplace because they essentially sell their almonds to handlers. Handlers has the responsibility of trying to sell it. And just in the last 2 years, partly because of bees, partly because of the water issues, we're seeing a lot more buyers, key large buyers of almonds, asking questions about what are you doing to be sustainable, whatever that may mean to that individual company. And when we come back and say we have a sustainability program, we have this many participants, there's like, oh, okay. And then when we can say, look, they've been participating since 2009. Oh, wow. We're not Johnny-come-latelys to this conversation. We've been doing it for some time. And when we come back and say this foundation behind it is over 40 years of research, almond grower-funded research that has contributed to improving cycle of continuous improvement that almond growers are doing. Again, coming back to the water data, because of research we funded and growers then making changes in their growing practices, on average, almond growers are growing 33% more crop for the same amount of water. That's because of research funded in irrigation management and nutrient management, also better variety selection, changes in prunings. All of that is based on grower-funded research that led to changes in the orchard, that led to improved efficiencies, improved sustainability. We cannot tell that story if we don't have the data. So that's really what it comes down to, is saying, hey, by doing this and coming back every couple of years to reassess and say, okay, how have I changed my practices over time? Then you make it possible for us at the Almond Board to either go to the media, go to regulators. Nowadays it goes all the way to the consumers and say, here's what almond growers are doing. we are thinking about the environment, we are thinking about our workers and our employees, our neighbors, and we're trying to be financially viable, which are the three components of sustainability.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Learn more about the efforts of the Almond Board in supporting the industry by reading Pacific Nut Producer Magazine by Matthew Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.